Welcome. In this video you'll be introduced to creating matrices in R. After creating some sample data in vector form, we will take a look at using the matrix function to create a matrix. Then we will look at a couple functions which we can use in R to create row and column names, which in the next video we will use as a way to index into the matrix. And then finally we'll look at a couple ways of viewing the matrix after it's been created. So notice that we have three vectors of information that make up our example data. Q1.mu and Q2.mu represent the first and second quarter mean stock price for 4 different companies, while stock.sim is going to correspond to the company stock symbols. Now we'll be using the first two vectors, quarterly stock prices, to represent the two columns of our matrix, whereas we'll use stock.symbol as the row names. So next, let's create the matrix, which will be a 4 by 2 matrix by calling upon the matrix function. Notice that the first input is going to be a concatenation of the two mean stock prices. The result is going to be a vector itself. So the second input, nrow equals 4, is used to declare how you want that vector of information cut up. So in this instance, we want 4 rows to be created from that single concatenated vector. Then the output is going to be saved as stocks. So if we run all of this, we will see that we have our information stored as values, while our matrix, stocks, is saved as data in the global environment. So notice that after we run all of this, that in our global environment we have two different categories of information. One is going to be data, the other one values. So our individual vectors were saved as values in the environment, whereas stocks, which is the matrix that we created, is recognized in the R environment as data. Now that we've created a matrix, let's form row and column names. So to do this, we can call upon the row names and column names functions. So as shown here, we're going to designate row names for stocks, our 4 by 2 matrix, as the stock.symbol vector. Then for column names, we're going to create another character vector. It's going to be made up of Q1, Q2, and remember, when creating character vectors, you have to use quotation marks around each of your elements. So let's run both of these. Now after running these, it may seem like nothing took place, but what actually happened is that it added row and column names to the matrix itself. So to view your matrix, you can simply run a line with the name of the matrix. So for example, if we run stocks, we can see in the console that we have our 4 by 2 matrix with row names and column names. Now another way that you can view something that you've created in R is to look over an environment window and notice that there is a little grid that's showing up after stocks. So if you click on this, notice that another pane opens over top of your scripting window, and you can view the contents that way. Now, though you can click on the grid as we've done to produce the stocks matrix, notice that in the console window that the view function was called upon whenever we clicked on that grid to produce the matrix. What's nice in RStudio is that some of the point and click options that you have will still be run in the console, so you can see what functions are actually used. So this concludes the video on an introduction to matrices. In the next video we will look at some additional options when using the matrix function in R. We'll also look at a couple ways of indexing into a matrix, and we'll also be looking at some other functions which are very useful if you are working with data structures in the form of matrices. We hope you found this useful, and happy coding.